Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters San Jose. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for waiting. Hopefully everything's good and working. It's all honky-dory, as they like to say. Let's get into our next matchup. But before we do that, let's take a look at the bracket so we know exactly where we are in Group B right now. We've already had one game in the upper bracket final, of course, which Revival went through. And in the lower part of the bracket, which hopefully you'll see in a moment, is also a very big matchup because it's Polt versus Jaedong. Unfortunately, First has kind of reversed his name and finished last.
Ice cold, Paul.
It's all brutal on this desk, I'm afraid.
You know, that's such a shame considering how well he did at the DreamHack Winter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, he's signed for TCM. He's looked pretty good since he did that, apart from when he plays his teammate. And then occasionally he looks good when he plays his team, but they always seem to meet. Doesn't matter whether they're in the same team or not. And then here he's kind of not really lived up to what we hoped he would. So
he's been so on and off. He's been really on and off. I mean, during the European qualifiers, he always looks kind of good. I think he was the one that subbed out for Vortex, right? Vortex was supposed to come, and then he was the one that got the spot. So kind of eked through a little bit on the back foot, but it's a little bit of a shame for him to fall out now.
Yeah. Okay, so Polt versus Jaedong. It's a massive game for both of these two. Last one of the year for them, so you know they're going to go and mope into their Christmas cheer otherwise when they leave here if they lose this one. So it's important for both of them to advance through the round of 8. No more so than perhaps for Jaedong, more so than Polt. I think I said on Thursday he hasn't had the best of years, and then someone said to me, well, come on, he's still made like round of 8 like 6 times. He's made top 4 times, and he's won a tournament. How can he have had a bad year? But I think it's like Kalara said, it's expectation. We always expect more from Jaedong than perhaps any other player out there.
Yeah, and especially when Jaedong's been getting knocked out of these tournaments, it's not in particularly epic fashion. It's just like, he got 0-2'd. Okay, and it's easy to move past that and forget about that. But Jaedong, he's very much so someone who finds his own style, because I think beyond all other players, he grinds out thousands of games just to work on every little aspect of his gameplay. And right now, the big thing that I'm looking for in this matchup is, will he be using the big Baneling all-in timing pushes? Actually, I shouldn't use the word all-in. They're just Baneling timing pushes where you sense weakness and you strike, because that is where all Terrans, and as we just saw Polt lose against Revival, it's where we've been seeing the problems.
You've got a few stories. I want to keep the private ones private, but share with us a few of them in relation to Jaedong. You've already spoken to him downstairs before we came up.
A little bit. Earlier, after he played his first match, in which he had won against First, which is pretty impressive, I got to catch a little bit of those games, and I went to him, I saw him downstairs, so I congratulated him. And he was like, no. So I was like, what? You're not happy that you won? He's like, I played so bad. I cut my hands, is what he told me. So I don't know if he was that disappointed by his performance, or if language barrier between a Korean and a French got in there, but he said, I cut my hands. So
yeah,
I guess it might have something to do with his face injuries as well, right? Because he said he fell over on the ice.
Yeah.
So maybe he has cuts on his hands as well as his face.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
it makes more sense
now.
now.
It definitely makes more sense now,
It may have got lost in Korean-French translation there.
Okay.
Tom, but okay.
But I saw him actually just recently before he went to set up on the stage, and I was like, go, fighting. And he told me, don't worry, with a very confident voice.
Really? Okay.
The formidable Dong just looked at me.
The Dong is back.
And made me believe. I have to wonder, actually. Recently in an interview, he said that something along the lines of, I'm not scared of Flash anymore.
Really?
And I could beat him right now, even though Terran is strong. And now he shows confidence before playing another Terran, a very strong Terran in Polt. Maybe he has some secret tactics, some special tactics planned.
Yeah, some White Ra initiated tactics.
He's going to have to do a whole lot better than he did at Burbank, though, that's for sure. Of course, he kind of put up a fight.
Wow, James. Wow, don't hold back there, James.
Whatever, I don't care.
Well, yeah, I would agree with that, too.
Polt's going to win. There you go.
Well, the crowd agree with you, so that's good.
Yeah, thanks, Trout.
Yeah. Dano, Polt.
Yes.
As a player, the kind of year he's had, it's not maybe as been spectacular as last year.
Yeah.
Still made a really big impact at BlizzCon. Still finished in the top 16. Still won tournaments. He just seems to be able to be very consistent whether Terran's up or down.
He looks so solid always when I watch him play. I mean, him against Jaedong was a drubbing earlier this week. And I would honestly auto-say Polt, but I feel like the series is going to be decided by Polt choosing to play a certain way.
Okay.
In the last series, accidentally going for Command Center, going 2 racks and doing it very oddly. There's an unusual shakiness from Polt that I'm not I'm not used to seeing. He's one of those players that you never see play shaky like that. So, I mean, I think really the series is up to him.
What about Jaedong against Polt? The way they've matched up in the past has been very weird. Polt 4-0s him, and then Jaedong says, well, I'm not having any of that, and he comes back and he says, all right, I'm going to 4-2 you in the next game, and he wins the next one, and then Polt wins the third one. This is the fourth meeting now. Are we expecting it backwards and forwards? And also, I want to throw this one in there. We've often, this week at least, called it the reverse curse. Whenever you win the first one, you lose the second one. Are we going to see that happen again?
Not if Polt plays his kind of true standard self. Like the play that we saw from him in the first series here. Again, I don't feel that Jaedong has enough to be able to reverse it. It's going to be a little bit difficult, I think.
How can you say that while looking at that beautiful man?
I couldn't even. I'm too short. I can't see over the laptop. All right.
You know what's funny these days, Jaedong?
He's so short. He's shorter than a laptop. It's official, ladies and gents.
In a lot of the tournament that he attended, he didn't look really happy. He didn't look confident nor happy, and he did bad. But now, did you see how happy he was in that small video?
And I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm reminded of the picture we saw him at Burbank when they were standing next to each other next side of Graham.
Oh, yeah.
And Polt was there, happy, smiling, no problem. And Jaedong was like, he looked like the life had been drained out of it. I don't know if that was the skating injury or what, but he genuinely looked miserable. And I just thought, wow, you couldn't get two more contrasting players.
Maybe girl problems. And now they got better, and he's all happy. And he's going to win.
Where did you get that from?
Wow.
Well,
just random.
Like outside of surmising exactly the source, if you are not in a just comfortable mental spot, in a way that has nothing to do with the game, just in general, if you've had a bad day, girl problems, like you said, or just any other life stress, and you try to come to a tournament and play, if you're losing a quarter second every few seconds with some other distraction, that piles up really, really, really quickly. And I mean, this is when we see players do uncharacteristically weird moves. Like I wouldn't be surprised if Polt said, yeah, I don't know, I was kind of tired, I was distracted by something else, and that's why you saw the gameplay that I had against True in the previous series.
All right. I've got this weird feeling in my head that I don't normally have when I have you gentlemen up here. Usually I get a good inkling for who you're leaning towards. I don't know I sense that in any of you, but I'm going to go round you one by one. Sean, start with you. Polt or Jaedong?
I'm going to go with Polt.
Okay.
After previously saying Polt's going to win, really exclaimed, I'm going to go with Polt, yeah.
Wow, really? Oh, that's so surprising. You've really caught me off guard.
He has the mechanics, he has the injects. He's not been playing super well. I think it's time. He came back, he brought back the Tyrant. I'm going to go for Jaedong.
Okay.
Such a fan pleaser.
2-1. Crowd, I heard a little whoop of joy there from the crowd.
There was someone out there so worried that Jaedong wouldn't be in one of the predictions. Woo!
But Todd, how true? It's fine. It's okay. Todd's got his back.
A lifesaver.
Okay, so 2-1 up here on the desk, Polt versus Jaedong. Players are almost ready, but I do want to remind you about something that we introduced a little earlier on this week, which was our very, very special crowdfunding opportunity that you guys can get involved in helping towards the amount of money that will go into the World Championship, which will be in Katowice in March. All you need to do is head over to newegg.com/IEM, purchase any of the hardware that you might need over there. There's some discounted hardware as well, and part of the profits will go to the World Championship final. The amount of money will go in as a percentage of what you buy. So anything you buy, we'll get a little bit of it and it will go into the pot. And later on next year, we'll announce how much money has been added to the World Championship final pot. Time now for our final game in Group B. Rachel, it's all yours.
Thanks so much, guys. We heard who the casters are predicting to win. I wanted to ask you guys who is going to win. So who's here rooting for Polt? Very nice. Who's rooting for Jaedong? All right, well, we had a short break, but I'm glad to see everyone is back and ready for action. So without further ado, let's get these games started. Please help me welcome Polt. And his opponent, EG's Jaedong. I'm glad to see both these guys are smiling. Why don't you shake hands for me? Good luck to you both. Casters, take it away.
Thank you very much, Rachel, and welcome here to the commentary desk. Very excited for this game, of course. It's a classic match that we've seen multiple times throughout the year. We've already seen it once in this tournament as well.
Yep, and it's always been fun, whether it's a 4-0 or not. Even if it's a 4-0, then it's still so much to talk about, because nobody is supposed to 4-0 Jaedong. It doesn't matter what your name is, Sean.
Yeah.
You don't 4-0 Jaedong. If that happens once, well, then you have a rivalry till the end of StarCraft 2. That's just set in stone. Really big match. It's kind of weird for me, because earlier this morning I actually thought, you know what, this could very well be one of these Polt tournaments again, when you don't really put him as a top favorite and suddenly he just goes full-on Polt mode and he just 2-0s everybody, makes to the final, kills a bunch of Nexuses and wins the tournament. But then still, I'm a little bit surprised by the defeat he had earlier today against Revival, and now going up against Jaedong himself. I'm just not sure how to rate Polt currently.
Yeah, he definitely didn't look his deadly self against Revival earlier. He got beaten up a little bit, he lost that 2-1, and he finds himself here in the decider match of Group B in an elimination game to see who moves on to the top 8 and who is defeated here in the round of 16. Of course, this is Jaedong, a huge fan favorite. He did put himself in this position by losing to Polt already once, but come back to beat first.
And that's a big victory as well, Sean. I think that's a really big victory. I was afraid that we were again going to see one of these silly PvZ best of 3s when Jaedong is involved, and he just takes too much damage from the first few Zealots that are being wiped in, and then a bunch of sentries mess him up, and they get recalled out, but Jaedong is too far behind to really make something happen. No, none of that. Today, Jaedong was prepared to receive some pressure, and again, first came off a really impressive DreamHack performance. So to be over here, Jaedong taking him out, that really gives the civilians some hope, as they would say in Dutch, the Dutch expression. But, you know, also the Jaedong fans. It gives Jaedong fans a lot of hope, and it really gives me hope for at least a crazy best of 3 between these two StarCraft 2 legends. Of course, Jaedong a bigger Brood War legend than he is an SC2 legend, but by now he's an SC2 legend too, because he's been around for a long time, had multiple deep runs, and he's going up against one of the most successful players of all time in StarCraft 2. That's Polt, currently at rank 3 or 4 of all-time money earned list.
I think he's 5, exactly.
5? Oh, okay.
Yep. But Jaedong, I think that red light really fits him on that stage there. But let's talk a little bit about Polt versus Jaedong that's already happened once this tournament.
Let's do it.
Jaedong started game number 1 in this best of 3. He lost 0-2. Started game number 1 very, very well. Made one big mistake, which was Baneling speed missing. Polt took full advantage, took the game for himself, and closed it up. And then in the second game, it wasn't very close at all, and Polt won 2-0. Let's just play imaginary guessing for a second. If Jaedong hadn't have forgot Baneling speed and won game number 1, let's just say he won game number 1, could he have beaten Polt?
I think you have a completely different series. We all know how frustrating it is to look back at a game, especially if everything starts off well and you're just like, oh, I didn't even make a mistake. Like, I didn't get outplayed. It came down to a big engagement and it was a win of mine out. No, there is no excuse for forgetting an upgrade like Baneling speed. It's crucial in this matchup. And of course you can say Jaedong is a seasoned veteran. He doesn't beat himself up over stuff like that. I never really buy that. Like, I always believe that gets to you. It's not like he never realized. He realized up to a certain point after he already lost 2 engagements, which could have gone completely different. And, you know, even if he would still lose game 2, then you'd still have a game 3. So you just have a different series. And it wasn't also that like game 1 was in the bag for Jaedong if he had Baneling speed, but it definitely looked really promising. This is going to be our map order today. Deathwing first, King Sejong second, and if we need it, merry-go-round, the map where he forgot Baneling speed, is going to be our decider.
All right, well, one thing that we can take from the previous series coming into this one is we had a bit of a glimpse onto how Jaedong approached Polt and Terran in itself. It was very counter-attack heavy. He was always running around. As soon as Polt moved out, he moved in. This must be a huge advantage for Polt coming into this series for the second time, knowing that's how Jaedong has preferred to play this matchup recently.
No, I couldn't agree more, Sean. Could not agree more. That is something that you truly keep in the back of your mind. Circling run-bys, they can happen. They will always happen for as long as this StarCraft 2 game is around. But if this is something that's in your mind when you start the game, when you make your first 2 Hellions, then you're going to raise those depots and you're going to lower it, you're going to raise it. Every single time you don't see anything, as soon as you don't see Zerglings challenging your Hellions, immediately you're like, all right, there's probably a bunch of Zerglings somewhere hidden around the map, so I couldn't agree more. I think this is very important going into this series, as both players are ready. Polt is going to have to be aware of the almost live-ish style of Jaedong, I would say, because he lost like 400 Zerglings in a 1800 minute game. Well, those are numbers that normally only live reaches.
And in this best of 3 with merry-go-round, the final map Of course, slightly Terran favored. Jaedong must start this series well, and he must start it like he wants to end it. Otherwise, Polt, I'm fearing here, coming into this as the favorite overall, is going to be looking to beat Jaedong up as we are ready to start game number 1. Deadwing is going to be the first map in this best of 3. Which player is moving on to the quarterfinals? Which player is going home for Christmas in just the round of 16?
We don't have a Terran yet, but after this best of 3, we may very well have the first Terran in the quarterfinals. Over here on the left bottom side of the map, off Deadwing, representing Cooler Master Storm. Give it up for Polt.
Of course, Captain America for everyone in the crowd. And up here to the top, right-hand side, some know him as the Tyrant. Some know him as a Legend Killer, as the Red Zerg. It's E.G. Jaedong. Looking mean. With that red line, I think it really helps him look really mean in that booth, Roddy.
He's not all that mean. We know him as a smiley person as well. He's one of the most social Koreans out of all of them. Will always walk up to us, will always give us a hug and ask us how we're doing in English. He's always looking for a little chitty chat, and he's such a cool guy to have around. Hopefully we can enjoy his presence for many years to come, because he truly is as cool as he comes across on camera. And not just only on camera.
He is a cool guy. Polt is a very smiley individual himself, but when he's in game, he's just as deadly as Jaedong looks, as he's going to open up this game with a command center first on Deadwing.
What was map number 2 again? I'm completely drawing a blank over here.
King Sejong Station.
What happened in that game? What made it a Polt victory?
Was it King Sejong? Oh, sorry, I thought you meant this series.
No, the previous one.
I can't remember, Rossi.
Okay, yeah, I'm just
It was a
drawing
few
blank.
days ago. My memory doesn't last that long.
Normally mine does, Sean, but it's just been a little hectic. But yeah, very economic openings over here from both players. As the command center first, of course, it's pretty safe on that wing. There aren't really any builds that are going to give Jaedong a straight up build or the win against this. It's so risky as well. If he would try to do that, if there's anything on top of the ramp, then Polt just laughs straight to the bank and picks up game number 1 very convincingly.
All right, so let's talk as these two pretty basic builds are setting up. Command center first, we'll see the game develop slowly here for Polt, and of course Hatchery first slowly being built up for Jaedong. What are some of the key points and strategic locations in Terran versus Zerg you think is going to play out on this map? It's pretty big, easy access to 3-4 bases. Where should we see this go?
Well, there is one thing that Jaedong truly has to worry about. Whenever we play on that wing, there's always a potential for a quick tank opening. And of course, there is this weird space next to the natural of Jaedong where Polt could theoretically decide to drop a tank from the low ground that can actually still shoot at the mineral lines. This is, of course, a very important space as well on this map. If Jaedong eventually goes up to 4 bases, I wouldn't be surprised if he takes his 3rd base in this little pocket expand. It's often a little easier to defend. Yeah. But yeah, Jaedong, it's very important that he scouts, because you don't want to face a tank with a medevac and a bunch of Marines on the low ground next to your natural without being aware of it, because once you see it by then, it's often already too late. Right. Queens will not be in range of the tank while the tank is still in range of your drones, and that is bad news bearer.
Well, let's have a look at the strategy choices now, because Jaedong's decided to go gasless, which isn't as common as it may seem here. This is a bit of an older style. We usually see a gas taken and Zergling speed research to push the Reaper back, to push the Hellions back. But a gasless style here. Where do you think he's going? I
think he's just not worried about early economic pressure at all, and he just wants to squeeze out a few more workouts, and eventually everything will be relatively standard. But I just think he feels he doesn't need gas. Perhaps he's done his homework, and he knows that Pols like to CC up it over here on that wing, and so far I think it's a correct choice, because what is he going to do with speed early on anyway? He's not really going to achieve a whole lot. Yeah, maybe you can pick up a few SCVs, but is that really worth researching speed and making all those Zerglings? Probably not on a map like that wing.
Whereas Polt here on the other side of things has chosen his second gas pretty early on. We've seen this already today, and he did aim towards Hellion Banshee, and it was a pretty big success today against Revival, that stage of the game at least. Unfortunately, Jaedong here with the Zergling has not gathered any more information, and being cross-positioned like this, his overlords are in bad places. He can't really get too much info on what's going on.
Nope. I'm curious as well what is going to be the add-on that factory. If he drops a tech lab, it's still possible that he opens up with a tank too. Of course, you know, a Banshee is perhaps a little more likely, but I'm really digging the tank play on this map, and I think that's still an option.
And Jaedong already thinking about that as well here, Rossi, is I think those back rocks in between that second base area are being worked on. Okay, and already brought them down. So if he wants to go tank play, it can work, but
It's a lot harder. It's a lot harder to pull it off if the rocks are being broken down. So that's
Jaedong, well, yeah, we are going to see Jaedong take all gases, all 3 gases here. Pretty greedy play, very queen focused. But on the other side of things, we are going to see the tank and Medivac play.
Well, this is really good news for Jaedong, I think, because he's already working on the rocks. This is a crucial part of this game.
Also, the third base can be used as well. The tank can be on that left-hand side. So there's another location that could be used. No circling speed, only queens. So slightly left of this hatchery, I think, could be a problem for Jaedong.
Yes, he's making roaches though, or at least he's throwing down the roach one. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if he skips circling speed for a while. And he's going to rely on roaches early on. This is going to be frustrating, but the rocks should be taken down in time. Viking is going to be the follow-up unit for Polt. He has plenty of overlords to snipe around the map, at least 3. But knowing Polt, he's probably going to get 4 or 5. Here we go with another boost, but I think Polt is going to be a little bit sad once he sees that these rocks are about to fall.
Quick look here to the third base. Here we go, Medivac going to make its way. And where is he going to go? He's going to boost forward, and the rocks are pretty much down here.
Great play by Jaedong. This is one of these small things, but this makes his life so much easier right now. The units will be unloaded, but with all the queens here, Polt is not even going to try. You know, this is just beautiful, because it's nothing. But if you don't do it, you're suddenly in a whole lot of trouble, and I love that Jaedong just took those rocks. Yeah, he made a few more links maybe than he would normally would. Oh my god, but with double factory going down.
Yeah, this is becoming a very interesting game, because right now, this third base has been compromised. Tank in great position, is highlighted a little bit before. No circling speed, no units to actually stop this. But Jaedong on the other side of things has played pretty greedy. He's got a very high drone count. He's gone up to the layer. He's getting carapace. He's going to play a super heavy roach game. He's going to get roach speed. He's going to look to break down his opponent. But Polt has chosen to go mech here, which is incredibly weird and very unorthodox for Jaedong to go into this.
Tunneling Claws already on the production tab as well. There is a chance that Jaedong makes some magic happen before the mag numbers of Polt will reach a critical amount.
It becomes a timing issue here.
And I actually think I have a lot of faith in this timing, especially because of Tunneling Claws and Burrow. Without it, no, I wouldn't have too much faith in it. But with, he already has the roach speed, by the way. He doesn't, right?
I know he hasn't researched it yet.
So he's opened up with Tunneling Claws.
Yeah, hoping his creep spread's good enough here to push this forward. But
ballsy.
Well, let's see how this is going to work, because Polt still has this Medivac, can still technically harass and pull Jaedong back, but how many units on the other side? Because I'm pretty sure I haven't seen Jaedong scout what his opponent's doing. I don't think anyone's seen inside his base yet, so he's going up against a black wall here. There's nothing, there's no information. There's only 3 tanks here.
But if he can burrow his way there... But oh wait, how would he do that?
Well, he's got to go through supply depots, scans.
Yeah, but he has to kill that, right?
He has to kill the supply depots, right. So this is, I mean, it's not looking too good here for Jaedong. He's playing blind, he doesn't know what he's up against, he's going to walk into a wall
and it's also not a ridiculous commitment. Like, it's a big commitment by Jaedong, but he has a follow-up plan, because now we have circling speed on the way. We have a Spire going down, so it's kind of a weird game. There's a lot happening without a whole lot of fighting, but still makes it very interesting for us. It's 122 supply each on either side, and here we go. But Jaedong, like we said, he's going to have to kill one of these depots, and then he will review his hand.
Absolutely here. So Polt doesn't really know what's going on yet. And how's Jaedong going to get past this? He's sitting there, he's waiting, but what is he really waiting for?
If he, maybe for the tanks to move out and then snipe a bunch? If they're on siege, it's not too bad. If he trades those roaches for 3 tanks, well, here we go. But it's so much DPS in this army of Polt, though.
He's
just going to wait. He's counter-attack, counter-attack.
Counter-attack's going to happen here from Jaedong, and there we are going to see 1 tank picked off, 2 tank picked off, 3 tank picked off. Nice and easy here for Jaedong.
Almost.
Getting a lot of damage done here already, really bringing down the high amount of damage Polt's army has, and now he's going to split these roaches up. No scans available, of course, because Polt's been on top of his mule, and we already has a transition, a movement away from this. A scan is going to eliminate some of these roaches. Some of them still survive, but Baneling nest in, Carapace coming in, back to Zergling Baneling, but is Jaedong going to have enough units out in time before this push comes? Because it's on its way, Rotty.
He needs more time, that's for sure. He needs more time. He doesn't have Baneling speed yet and stuff like that. There are quite a few Marines in this army as well. This is just a little bit of everything. And in the end, he sniped a bunch of tanks. And I think Polt could have done a slightly better job reacting to that. He could have picked up a few. But like you mentioned, look at the army supply of this army of Polt. It's a 115 army supplied by Terran.
It's very big. There's no third command center. It's dedicated on this 2-base push, and he's going to try to make this work. Is Jaedong going to have enough to push this back? You push this back, you win the game. If not, Polt will take map number 1 here. Roach is doing counter-attack.
It's not enough. There's just not a whole lot of DPS in this army from Jaedong, I'm afraid. A couple of transfuses will go down. Here come a couple of Banelings. Like we said, no Baneling speed, so they are just sort of trying wiggling their way over there.
These roaches with Carapace on, dying very easily at the moment, and Jaedong's starting to push this back, and it looks like he's going to defeat this push. And with defeating this push, he absolutely crushes Polt here. And Polt has to go back with his tail between his legs. No third command center, not a lot of production.
Wow.
And Jaedong does what he needs to do.
That went so well for Jaedong. That went way, way better than I thought it was going to be. He had a lot of roaches on the production tab, but I wasn't even sure if they would be out in time. He's going to use tunneling claws again, pick off a tank, get a couple of helmets over here as well. The Tor gets picked off as well. Polt sleeping on the job there of picking up these units. And what once upon a time was a 30-40 army supply lead for Polt is now a 20 army supply advantage for Jaedong and a base advantage.
Absolutely wonderful position for the Evil Genius player as he goes into the rematch against Polt from earlier on in the group stages. And now Polt has to go back behind his wall. He's stuck on 2 bases. He must defend from this point. But this allows Jaedong to take his 4th. He can take his 5th. He can go up to high. He can literally go anywhere he wants to from this position.
Jaedong doesn't even have to rush it. He doesn't have to be putting on all this pressure. No. He's going to more banelings though. He's going to roll in with a bunch of speed banes this time. He will kill a bunch of SCVs. That's inevitable for Polt.
Are there even enough units here to defend?
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be tricky. It all depends on the engagement, I guess. But regardless, any trade is almost a good trade for Jaedong now because he's so much richer than Polt.
Yeah, he's going in and he's going to try to bring down this Thor. It gets picked up here by Polt. Nice usage of the medivac here as he struggles to hold on. There's a lot of units on the way for Jaedong to try to close this up right now. He doesn't want to sit back and get further ahead. He wants to end the game immediately. He's getting into the worker line. And with more and more units streaming across, Polt is going to be in a very difficult position to hold on. He picks up the Thor at the last minute. He's trying to repair the other one. And he does hold on for now, but 25 workers compared to 74.
Exactly. Being down 50 workers and only having 2 orbital commands to work with as well, this is almost impossible for Polt. There are a bunch of roaches in the main as well. Jaedong being as annoying as possible with these guys. And that's, of course, the true way you want to play.
Wow. Jaedong takes map number 1 here. A very different game. We're not used to seeing that type of style from Jaedong, mixing it up drastically compared to normal.
Yeah, no, he played so well. I was worried about that push. Of course, Polt didn't have stim with these Marines, and he did lose a few tanks before it started, but it was still like a 30 supply army advantage. He stepped on creep, but I kind of thought that was going to be okay for Polt. Like, it looked like he had a big army supply advantage. There were still a few roaches on the other side of the map as well. There were a lot of roaches in production, but man, Jaedong just smacked that down.
I have to bring up a question now, Rotterdam. We've seen Polt play 2 Zerg players today, and in the first game of both series, he likewise has also played something different compared to his normal game. His standard, rock-solid style that we're used to seeing coming out from Polt. Why is he mixing it up? Do you think this is even good for his game? If Jaedong had played normal, would this have been good?
Maybe. Let's not forget that his opening didn't really work out either. I mentioned it at the start of the game already. If you can get a tank on the low ground there next to the natural, that's really good for Terran. But Jaedong, without really any effort, other than putting 3 Zerglings on those rocks and having the Queens work on it a little bit, just shot that down. He took absolutely 0 damage from it. You did mention that the tank was still in range of the 3rd base, but that's okay because there are not really any drones there. So Jaedong can just, temporarily not mine of that base. It's a lot worse when it happens in your natural. Then you're going to lose a bunch of drones, or you have to transfer all 16 of them. You lose a lot of mining time. So early on, the start was not great. And like I said, Polt, world-class Terran player, but I felt he reacted a little slow to the first time that those roaches revealed themselves. That first tank died, that's okay. You can't do much about it. The second one, I think, a very quick Polt normally can pick it up. Speed. He had a bunch of medevacs flying around, and that he lost another tank that was just standing there. That wasn't even finished off at first. It was like 15 HP left. The roaches ran away, and then it turned around. It still killed that tank. It's like, come on, man. You have like 3-4 medevacs over there. Pick up those units.
Yeah, well, we'll see if he can improve on these small mistakes as we get ready to go into game number 2. But before we do that and see if Polt can tie this one up like he did in the previous series, I'm going to pop to a quick commercial break. Stay tuned. And here we are ready for map number 2 between EG Jaedong and of course Polt. Which way is this going to go? Can Jaedong close it up 2-0 to get the revenge victory over Polt? Or can Polt muster his strategies together, because he has been looking a little bit shaky, or I don't know if shaky is the right word, maybe it is, but he's been looking very different this tournament.
I think shaky is actually the correct word. I mean, he looked great in the first series earlier this week against Jaedong, even though Jaedong gave him a helping hand in game number 1. But overall, that was just good play by Polt. But earlier today against Revival, didn't really look like the best Polt we saw of all time. And now in game number 1, that was just kind of weird, perhaps a little bit unfortunate early on that his very first idea didn't work out. Jaedong, of course, opening up gases as well, that helped Jaedong in the long haul, made his economy a little bit better than it would perhaps normally be. But yeah, I'm a little bit surprised, Sean. I'm a little bit surprised that he let a couple of tanks die like that. And I don't know. We'll see how this continues in game number 2. But it's very good news for Jaedong. We often say it. It's almost like a StarCraft 2 fairy tale. But Jaedong feeds off the energy of big crowds. As soon as he sees a bunch of people in front of him, it just seems like he becomes a different player. And he really, he just turns it up a notch.
He always shows it when he enters these big stadiums and the big type of arenas that we're in here in San Jose. And we are ready to begin map number 2 now, Rotterdam. And this is going to be on King Sejong Station, if I remember correctly, between Jaedong and Polt. Which way will this go? Jaedong on search for a big finish here at the Interstream Masters against Polt, who's looking to finish his year strong. He's had one tournament victory earlier on at Red Bull, looking for a potential second. Of course, both players looking for a potential first championship at the Interstream Masters. But here we go.
Of course, this man has been to the finals once of an Intel Extreme Masters. That was earlier this year in Cologne. He wants to do it again. Cheer as loud as you can for Captain America himself. It is Polt.
And up here to the top left-hand side, started this series with a bang. 1-0 up as the Red Zerg player playing for Team Evil Geniuses. It's Jaedong.
I'd be shocked if we see another CC first from Polt over here, though, Sean.
It could be a little bit risky.
Shocked is a big word, but I'd be surprised. I don't think he's going to do that. Because it's more like Polt to always have some presence. And of course, he did have some map presence in the last game with his medevac, but Jaedong didn't really take that medevac with the tank and a few Marines very seriously. Like, he ignored it, he never chased it around, he wasn't following it. He's, you go ahead, fly around, fly in range of a bunch of queens, I'll just shoot down the medevac and then I'll clean up those units. Obviously, Polt didn't want to lose these units, so...
Well, we're going to see this Reaper opening, but we're also seeing a 12 pool coming out from Jaedong, and we know that he likes to switch it up from game to game. If we were to see a command center first from Polt, well, he's just simply in trouble. But with a Reaper opening, depending on where the Reaper is, will really depend on the success of this early spawning pool.
I think the best thing that Jaedong can hope for now is to send a couple of Zerglings across the map, avoid the Reaper with the information he gets from his overlords, and then as soon as the command center goes down on the low ground, sneak in with those Zerglings, pick up that SCV that's building it, and delay it for as long as possible. Maybe even work on the reactor if the reactor goes down.
Will it work, Roddy? Will it work? This is a big move. If it doesn't work, Jaedong puts himself behind in this game instantly.
Yes. Oh, here we go. 6 Zerglings are on their way. Of course, the Overlord has already identified that, you know, this is not going to be a command center first opening.
There's also an SCV scout here, which is great news here for Polt, if he's able to see it.
Yeah, the Zerglings, I think, will still be able to avoid it. This is really important. The Overlord of Jaedong sees the SCVs. So Jaedong, he's going to have to send his Zerglings north, like as soon as possible. North, 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 Jaedong, because you don't want to be in range of that SCV.
All right, well, he's going to hide. The SCV is going to go in here, but now it's on Polt's side to start to figure this out.
Yeah.
Is that spawning pool at the right time here? Oh, wait a minute, there's a queen about to pop out. It's already on its way. So this is a spawning pool first building. Usually a sign of a good Terran player is he pulls back the Reaper, but
keep it at home.
He didn't really go too far in here.
We'll see where the Reaper goes. I think the Reaper will still... I think the Reaper is looking for Zerglings now.
Where the hell is Jaedong going with his Zerglings?
Yeah, he's taking a bigger detour than we took yesterday, Sean, and it took us a while.
It took us a while, and it's going to take Jaedong as well. Maybe if he comes back from behind to surround the Reaper, but... Interesting choice of Zergling location, Rotterdam.
Yeah. Yeah, by this speed, there will actually be Hellions out in time to still deal with those Zerglings, or the command center will be finished up. Reaper runs around, probably wondering like, why isn't there a single Zergling? I think by now Polt knows exactly what's up, and he knows that he will most likely lose an SCV, maybe even two. It's gonna be close, but I still think that the SCV will be able.
Well, the Reaper kind of needs to come back here. The problem is the command center's very close to finishing, so he can just pick it up here. But
no, he's not. I don't think he's gonna finish though. I think Jaedong's gonna pick up the SCV and he's gonna do it a few times.
Oh, he's going to go in and he's going to pick off this SCV. It's going to go down. There are two Marines here, but five Zerglings still good. Supply depot not raised here. Jaedong's going to go for the Marines. He's going to chase them down. Is he going to be able to get us around? Some SCVs are going to come off the line. And remember, every SCV kill here is pretty big. Not one has gone down. A really good micro here from Polt to deflect this without really any losses.
Yeah, losing a Marine is absolutely no big deal. Losing SCVs is annoying. Is he working on his command center again? Because I feel it's still not building. Okay, there we go. He finally sent one down. It is completed, so his supply block was temporarily, but now he has free room again, and he can start producing Hellions. I think overall, still good for Polt.
I mean, yeah, I definitely feel it is, but also one of these things with the early spawning pool build is it was such an early queen, which also gives him a lot of lava to work with too. So he's actually kind of shot up pretty fast here with his drones, and he does have a 44 supply Zergling speed on the way, and the game kind of normalizes almost from this position.
It depends if Jaedong is able to send a drone out though. Because that Reaper should be hovering around somewhere there, right? And soon the Hellions will be out, and then I think it's going to be a little bit tricky for Jaedong to go up to 3 bases. Interesting follow-up over here by Polt. He's going to research Cloak. Jaedong actually going up to layer while still being only on 2 bases, and he's taking 3 additional extractors, Sean.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to open up with a 2-base Spire.
You know, 2-base Muda, man, is coming back. You remember the ESL shirts? 6 pool, 2-base Muda?
That's right, man.
Everyone's like, no one goes 2-base Muda. Huh.
Jaedong. It's pretty good against Hellion Banshee, actually, and Jaedong is going to try to pull this one out the back here. Of course, some of the weaknesses of this build is if any Hellbat pushes come, because there is no Bailey Nest, there are no Roach Warrens, but in this case, it's only Hellion Banshee. The layer's fast enough where he doesn't need Spore Crawlers either, so it's an Overseer, which is pretty good, obviously not losing drones to build the static defense.
Good scout here by Polt, though. Very, very important scout. We'll see that this layer is pretty close to being done. He's even going to see it morph. So now he has a very good idea of what he's playing against.
I think he cancelled Cloak.
Yeah, I think you're on to something. Maybe he let one Banshee finish, but definitely cancelled Cloak. Cloak is not going to be an issue in this game or a factor. He just needs as many Marines as possible. These Hellions may actually be able to get some work done on some of these drones.
Yeah, Jaedong flicked back those drones here. I wonder if Polt's going to feel pressured to build Vikings here. Nah. Okay, I mean, he doesn't have any barracks, and that's the 3rd command center. There's no engineering base either because of the opening.
Maybe, but I just feel that Vikings are too expensive and too bad against Middle-East.
Yeah, they're bad, but it may be a pressure thing here, but we'll see. The Banshee is just gonna try to push this back here.
Maybe force out an Overseer or 2 that Jaedong doesn't really need, or maybe a Spore, but so far Jaedong is not taking the bait. Jaedong probably also aware of the fact, like, even if you were thinking about going up to Cloak, then you probably changed your mind after you saw how quickly my layer was.
All right, well, the hatchery's down, 3rd hatchery. Zergling's coming around from the...
He's throwing down double eBay before additional Rexes.
Yeah, he's really relying on turrets here. He's got to make sure these turrets are in location. As Jaedong now deciding to go for the Baneling Nest. Still no evolution chambers, bear in mind. Just keep that at the back there. As the engineering base they've started, they finished, they're going to start their upgrades soon.
A lot of Hellions. Jaedong has to be careful by trying to surround this. Well, he's actually coming in from both sides. Jaedong!
He goes
beautiful surround.
Double surround there. He grabs one chunk of the Hellions and comes around for the second group. That was actually a beautiful surround there.
That was sick, especially because the Hellion count was so high. Polt was really relying on these Hellions doing some serious work. And now Polt, if you're Polt right now, you start shivering. You have almost no map vision anymore. I think the Reaper is being chased in the middle of... No, it's the last remaining Hellion that's going to die as well. Polt has no eyes on the map anymore, other than the Banshee, which obviously has to be very careful because Mutalisk are about to spawn.
I think we might see a big attack here from Jaedong. I think we're going to see Banelings morphed in a second.
That's why Polt is throwing down bunkers as well. Polt is aware of the fact, like, I can't see anything you're doing right now. That's not how I want to play this matchup. If you are going to Baneling boss me, I need a couple of bunkers. But what he also needs, Sean, is turrets. We said he's relying on turrets, but where are they?
Well, it's still no evolution chambers. It's such an important part of this game. We'll see where he goes with this next Jaedong, but with Baneling's speed close to finishing up, doing a lot of damage already with these
fresh mules.
And he's going to get one, he's going to get the other, he's going to try to get it. I think he does.
No, I think he only got one, right?
I think it was 2, but it looked like 2. But maybe I'm wrong here, but still. What's the next part here? The third base is going to be attempted to be taken here by Polt, who's very down on supply. And Jaedong is controlling this game.
With 35
down as well.
Jaedong is up like 35 supply.
Here we
Polt
go.
has to be
Macro
very,
hatch,
very
it's
careful.
coming to fruition. The macro hatch is down. Still no evolution chambers. He's going to go for this attack. Polt's low on units. He's low on bunkies. He's low on upgrades, and just kind of low overall here. Will he have enough to take this defense? Because we're taking a third base. He's moving out into the open here, Rotterdam. And that's where he's going to be vulnerable against this type of attack.
Yeah, Polt should not even be thinking about moving out now. He needs to rely on those bunkers. He needs to settle those Widow Mines as quick as possible and hope that those Widow Mines get a couple of really big shots off. Polt has still not seen it. He's going to see it real soon.
He's got no combat shields either. I mean, he's got 1-1, but no combat shields here.
Let's take a look at the army supply real quick as Jaedong is morphing 13 more banelings. Jaedong is up a little bit.
He's looking to trap Polt here. Maybe the Mules can be the ones that bring the Marines out into the open here if Polt was to chase it.
Only 24 Marines. If a couple of these banelings get a good connections.
Widow Mines could be huge here for Polt if they get the right detonations.
Right? No overseer. Oh, there's one.
Oh, Jaedong's going to go for it. He's always going to take it on these Museless. But here we go. I think the attack's going to take place. It's been seen. And now, Jaedong, he takes a couple of hits from these Zerglings. Polt, so far, so
good.
good.
Baneling splitting.
And here we go. This is the big Baneling attack. Can Polt hold on? If he doesn't, it's going to be 2-0 for Jaedong.
Well, there are still quite a few Marines. The Baneling count is definitely not as high as it once upon a time was. So Mr. Turret helping out a little bit. But there the Banelings do connect with the last remaining Marines of Polt. Supply-wise, Jaedong is still up 30. He is still having quite a few Marines to work with. And I think that Polt might be able to squeeze out enough Marines to stabilize for now. But he's losing a lot of SCVs.
He's losing a lot of SCV here, and the onslaught continues as Jaedong must pull back to his reinforcements. 63 workers to 50. The Zerglings on the third base. That's maybe something he should have done a little bit earlier on. That's a lot of money that Polt has been going for. But remember, this is pretty much an all-in from Jaedong. I mean, he's got no evolution chambers. If Polt stabilizes, he's right back in it.
Well, there are like 11 more Banelings on the way, and they're about to roll in. And I think it's guaranteed that he's going to kill a few more SCVs, but I'm not sure if he's going to be able to absolutely kill Polt over here. With a few more Widow Mines going down, with so many Marines being produced at once. Those are some okay connections. Marauder doing a really good job. Good splits there by Polt.
Yeah, it's good splits, but he almost loses all the Marines anyway, pretty much. And the third command center is going to be picked off here.
Okay, that's bad.
That's pretty
real,
good for Jaedong. Bad for Polt, obviously. And Jaedong continues the attack. 56 supply. He's not mining from a third. He's not mining from the natural. The SCVs are down, and Jaedong once again looking in great position. And he's looking like he can do this 2-0.
After killing that orbital, Sean, I truly believe up to that point you always have to take a 3-base Terran into consideration. But now Jaedong is just in an absolutely phenomenal position. 61 Zerglings on the map, 11 middle-list, plus 2 flyer attacks is about to finish off, I believe. Oh, it's halfway done. Yeah. He has his macro heads. He can just keep doing this for days. And Polt only of 2 orbitals. There's no way he can keep up with the production of Jaedong.
2-2 on the way. Combat Shields is finished up here for Polt. Maybe if he gets lucky with 2-2 completing and has an army to fight Jaedong, maybe he can get back into this one. But that is a long stretch. 60 supply blocked at that 60 supply. And Jaedong now up to 70 workers, double evolution chamber on the way, so he can try to catch up with these upgrades. And of course, the production, the income, the unit count, everything in favor of the Zerg.
I feel that Orbital Command took so much damage from Zerglings as well. Like, there were a bunch of Mutalisks, but the Mutal count was really not that high that it can easily snipe a 1500 HP building. But the Zerglings got so much free damage of it, on it that it really made it a lot easier for Jaedong to eventually kill that base. And taking out that base really takes away so much of the potential power that Polt would have to bounce back in this game.
All right, well, let's see if Polt can make the comeback. And to be honest, I feel like I've said this once already today, and I think I have said this once already today. Polt's been in a position where he's fallen behind and has struggled to get back into it. And this is his one chance. He's going to start clearing creep sped up, obviously good for his engagement, but minimal amounts of units here.
Yeah,
if Jaedong crushes this army, this could be over.
Yeah, upgrades are great, but you truly need a lot of units as well for upgrades to matter. A couple of Banelings got good connections, and Polt is just going to have to disengage immediately, run off creep. He still has a few more Widow Mines. Jaedong always has to be careful against those Widow Mines, but that's not the most beautiful fight for Jaedong. But in the end, Sean, he's so much richer than Polt. He can keep trading. Even if it's inefficient, it's still okay.
But in the end, Roddy,
it doesn't even matter.
It doesn't even matter because I think Jaedong's going to look to close this one up. He's building 30 more Zerglings with a big morph. He's containing his opponent. He could look for a kill. Of course, it's the more riskier way to do this. But right now, 168 supply to 88. This is almost unheard of, almost impossible to come back from this position.
What a crazy group this has been. A group with first Revival, Polt and Jaedong, and it might be the 2 Zerg players making it out, or most likely will be. As we see, there's just so much swarm over here. Polt is not showing us any intentions of going up to 3 bases again. So I guess he's just going to mine out his main and then eventually fly it over.
Yeah.
Dropping is not really an option. Oh, he's even microing the middle is now a little bit as well.
Another minor victory there for Jaedong. Excellent here. So many things going in his way. He's got so many units. And once again, Polt is so low. Look, 34 workers. He's incredibly low. He doesn't have a big army. He doesn't have a big income. And this is just a slam dunk finisher here for Jaedong. He's waiting for the right one.
Oh.
Look at the
Beautiful.
Look at that swarm.
Play the Heart of the Swarm animation trailer right here. Where's the Viking to land and somehow put up a fight against his army because, you know,
This
just like
is
in the
all he's
trailer.
got, and it looks like this is going to be the end here as Jaedong marches through. He took game 1 convincingly. He's looking to take game 2 convincingly, and he will. GG! Jaedong moves into the quarterfinals and eliminates Polt in the round of 16. A dominating performance from the Tyrant here on stage.
Beautiful play by Jaedong. So much better than a few days ago when we played the first match of this group stage where it looked like he was just not ready to battle with a Terran like Polt, especially in game number 2. Game number 1 it was alright. Game number 2 just wasn't even really close. But now today, Jaedong first beating First, who's a very, very strong Protoss player, had a great performance in his most recent tournament. But Jaedong finally showed that he's ready to deal with Protoss players like that. And now he just played a really good, cool series full of mind games against Polt.
Seems like he was well prepared to take on Polt for this series, and he came out on top 2-0. And is our 4th player to qualify for the round of 8.
That Hellion surround, though, does anyone else that Hellion surround, Sean? Because that was a really, really good Hellion surround and such an important one. It's very risky making that many Zerglings trying to surround 8 Hellions. That's one of these things where if it works, that's great for you because the Terran is going to be so paranoid and he has to be. But if it doesn't work, if these Hellions react properly, if they get 2-3 good shots off, you lose so many Zerglings. There's so many Zerglings that could have been drones. But that was an absolute key moment in that game, and after that, you know, Jaedong just did a lot of things right. I love the first big engagement as well, splitting up his banelings, making sure the mines did not get the shots they were looking for. Just awesome.
And unfortunately for Polt here, round of 16, of course, a finalist from the Intel Extreme Masters Cologne earlier on this year, the top 4 from the World Championship, but it is EG's Jaedong who moves through to another round in this tournament and looking to compete with the rest of the top dogs once we hit the quarterfinal stages and hit that best of 5, more importantly.
It's a Zerg party so far up in here, Sean. 3 Zergs and the Protoss player Rain are the first 4 people to qualify for the quarterfinals. Of course, you Terran fans, don't worry. We still have a few of them in action later today. Of course, Bomber is going to play. I don't know what 4GG did. Is he still in?
Yes, he is. He's going to be playing in our next game here, I think, is the next game up. Of course, Gumiho's still around, 4GG's still around, Bomber's still around.
Yeah, Gumiho.
So we do have a lot of good Terran players still left in this tournament to try to compete with the Zerg and the Protoss. But so far, so good. If we've reached the halfway point now, Rotterdam, of our day here, we've got 4 players through, 2 from Group A, 2 from Group B, and of course moving on to C and D very, very shortly.
I can't wait, but for now I want to hear about the man himself who just advanced to the quarterfinals. So Sue, take it away.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Give it up for our 4th quarterfinalist, Jaedong. Jaedong, we saw you play against the same exact opponent, Polt, just a few days ago, but you looked completely different this time. What was so different about this time that you were able to change that score and make it 2-0 in your favor?
저는 최승원 선수와 만났을 때는 너무 달라 보였어요. 이번이랑 뭐가 이렇게 어떻게 이렇게 다르게 됐어요?
컨디션이 차이도 있겠지만 오늘 이렇게 많은 우리 팬들 앞에서 게임하니까 게임도 더 잘 되고 되게 그냥 스스로 되게 즐기면서 하니까 더 잘 됐던 것 같아요.
I do want to mention the fact that I think that back then I wasn't physically feeling my best, but on top of that, playing here in front of you guys in this huge stadium, in front of all of you passionate guys, it just makes me have so much more fun playing this game, and I think I was able to enjoy the game that much more and just play it to my optimal point. So I think that's why I was able to do so much better this time. Jaedong, you have had an absolute crazy schedule. BlizzCon, Home Story Cup, DreamHack Winter, and now you're here at Intel Extreme Masters San Jose. How are you still able to show us such great StarCraft? 일단 일정이 정말 바쁘셨잖아요. 그럼에도 불구하고 오늘 정말 좋은 스타크래프트 보여주셨어요. 어떻게 그렇게 잘하세요?
한 번 더 말하지만 여기 와 있는 많은 팬들이 응원을 되게 많이 해주셔서 그런 게 나오는 것 같아요.
I have to say this one more time. He says, it is because of you guys in the audience. You guys cheer so, so hard for me. And I know that, I see that, and that's why I was able to really step it up here despite my busy schedule. Now, last but not least, Jaedong, you are here at Intel Extreme Masters San Jose. There are many, many great players that you'll have to go up against potentially in the quarterfinals. Is there anybody that you think can stop you here? 이제 마지막으로 이제 여기 있는 정말 잘하는 선수들이 많은데 이제 8강 진출으로 혹시 이재동 선수 막을 수 있는 선수 있나요?
아마 이렇게 많은 사람들이 응원해 주기 때문에 이런 힘이 있다면 아무도 저를 막을 수 없다고 생각합니다.
He says, because I have so many people cheering for me, with that strength that I'm receiving from you guys, there will be no one that can stop me. Congratulations again, Jaedong, on making it to the quarterfinals. We are going to head back to the studio desk.
Thank you very much, Sue. Yes, congratulations to Jaedong as he heads off to the victory circle. And another very, very surprising match between these two. It was a reverse curse yet again. So, gents, the reverse curse holds true.
I mean,
yeah.
I made a statement, and a lot of times you don't expect it to be like all the way true, but Polt, like, just something was going wrong in those games.
Well, I think the first thing that went wrong was that he played mech in game one.
Yeah.
We all just sat here going, what?
And it wasn't just mech, it was mech on 2 base. Like, you don't do that. You get more gases, you're going for 4 or 5 base, you're going for a long-term play. Yeah. Something like that has nothing to do with StarCraft was going on, either like exhaustion or lack of focus, because that was not Polt playing, it felt like.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's normally a big, ferocious tiger, but today he kind of seemed like a pussycat in a box. It really didn't work out at all for Polt here today. And the thing is that Polt, throughout 2014, has been in 14 Premier tournaments, and this is the 4th one where he hasn't surpassed the round of 16. Normally, he goes further. So he's had an amazing 2014, but the end of 2014 has been a bit rocky for Polt, and I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, a bit strange. Like we said earlier, he was very, very consistent. What were your thoughts on the 2 games? Do you think Jaedong played well, firstly, rather than the fact...
He played extremely well. I told you the Tyrant will be back.
You did. And
he told me not to worry, and I didn't worry. And I watched these games, and this was the Jaedong from 2013 that we saw here, that took runner-up at BlizzCon, and that had a lot of big performances. His units were everywhere. That Roach Burrow movements that he used on Deadwing, just amazing. And then again on Sejong, just so many good moves. He was on point. He was simply put the Tyrant in this.
Back to being the Tyrant again. He said the power of the fans will take him through, and there's no one that can really stop him. It's a bit of bravado talk, obviously, Sean, but nice to hear him being confident again after being a little bit sort of, I don't know, down in the mouth last 2 days.
You know, I think every competitive player has had to live through the arc of facing nerves on stage and learning to get past your nerves to be able to play the way you do in practice on stage. But there's a very small few set of players that feed off the energy of the crowd, and they play better and they focus better, and some of their best games are on the main stage. And they say, I actually can't do that in practice. And Jaedong is one of those players, which is just insane to see.
Okay. Let's close up the group by showing the bracket. This is how Group B has panned out in the end, and it wasn't perhaps the way that many thought it would end up. First is the 4th placed player. At the bottom of the bracket, Jaedong goes through in 2nd ahead of Polt, and Polt's teammate, Revival, wins Group B. Just final thoughts on Group B. Not how we thought that one would play out at all.
Not really, no. I really didn't expect Revival to go through in 1st place, but I mean, the wins speak for themselves, basically, and it's nice to see him getting that position. And now, because of how the brackets work out, he will be playing a 2nd place finisher from another group. But the tournament's so stacked that I don't think it really matters too much.
I was going to say, I don't think he will care too much about that, that's for sure. We're going to move on to Group C next. It's going to be a very fun group. And I thank you for your time, gentlemen. We are going to take a very quick break at the desk. Don't forget, we do have the shop, of course. It is online, and you can head over to the shop, ESL official shop, and there are team shirts in there, and there are also official Intel Extreme Masters shirts as well. So, Jaedong moves on and snuffs out the faint hope that Polt had of reaching the next round and leaves him numb. That's right, Jaedong is just one step closer to the grand final. It's not just the other two that can do Linkin Park things. We'll see you after the break.